Welcome to another mathematical moment from the American Mathematical Society. I'm Layla Sloman, and today I'm talking with Jonah Botvinick-Greenhouse, a graduate student at Cornell University who recently competed in the World Juggling Federation Ultimate Championships. Today, we'll be talking about the mathematics of juggling. Welcome, Jonah, and thank you for talking with the AMS. Maybe to start, you could just give us a little introduction about what juggling is.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Um, so yeah, juggling, it's a form of object manipulation. There's many different types of juggling. For simplicity today, we'll talk about the kind that most people think of when they think of juggling, which is where you're throwing objects from one side of your body to the other and catching them in a continuous pattern and throwing them again. Um, and so the most basic type of juggling pattern, your arms are making throws on a metronome essentially, so that you can imagine there's beats to the pattern, and every single beat you're making one throw and also making one catch, and all the objects you can think are going to the same height in the simplest pattern. And yeah, it repeats over and over again.
Right. So when you mathematically model juggling, you have to kind of take into account some of the restrictions. So maybe you can talk about, from the juggler's perspective,
Mhm.
what kind of things are possible or not? What kind of constraints do you have to take into account?
Yeah, so when people talk about the mathematics of juggling, first they need to reduce the complexity by quite a bit. So whenever someone's juggling, there are so many complicated external factors. There's X, Y, Z planes, there's the way the wind is blowing, there's the way your arms are moving, all of the different angles. And so when we talk about the math of juggling, we can talk about really the math of juggling or the physics of juggling. And the math is much simpler in the sense that a lot gets abstracted away, and all we're going to care about are throw locations, catch locations, um, and the order in which balls are thrown. So jugglers use this mathematical notation system. It's called site swap because you're
Mhm.
talking about balls, which are object swapping between two sites, which are the hands that are uh, throwing the balls in the juggling pattern. So jugglers really use this as a language to communicate different types of tricks and patterns to each
Mhm.
other. So a site swap, it's a sequence of digits, and each digit specifies how many beats later that ball is going to be thrown.
Mhm.
Um, so you might say you're going to do something, or let's say the simplest case is the standard three ball cascade. This is the most basic juggling pattern that everyone starts with when they learn, and it means that every ball is thrown every three beats, and they're all going to the same height, although height isn't necessarily something we think about. We're just thinking about when they're thrown. But when we perform it in physical, real world space, they're all going to the same height and being thrown every three beats because there's three balls in the cycle. So I can say something to my friend like I'm doing a 6-4-5 or a 9-7-5-3-1, and these mean very specific juggling patterns to both of us.
Mhm.
And there's some numbers that you might say to me like, "Oh, do a 4-3," and in my head I'll know that's not going to work because the 4 and the 3 are going to land in the same hand at the same time. So that would be very challenging to try and do.
Right.
So it's almost like how musicians read sheet music, jugglers speak in sight swap.
Can every juggling pattern be described this way?
Um, Yes, in a certain sense.
Mhm.
Every juggling pattern, meaning every order in which objects are manipulated, can be described in this way. But there's a lot of things that site swap leaves out of the picture. For instance, if I want to start crossing my arms while I juggle, uh, maybe a Mills mess, windmill pattern, something like that, or I juggle over my head or behind my back, site swap doesn't care about this. It's only caring about the order in which objects are manipulated, not necessarily where they are manipulated.
So when you think about writing juggling patterns as site swaps, what are some of the mathematical questions that can come up?
The first question is what string of digits forms a site swap?
Mhm.
Um, and so I'll start by explaining a very graphical, intuitive way to determine if something is a site swap. So this is called a ladder diagram. So we're going to think of this imaginary x-axis that isn't drawn here as passage of time, and on
Mhm.
the y-axis is space, and each um, side of this ladder is going to represent one hand. So we can think this is our left hand on the top, and this is our right hand on the bottom.
Mhm.
Every time that we see a closed circle, this is a hand making a throw. So there's a ball in the hand and we're going to throw it. And every time that there's an empty circle, there's a hand that's going to be receiving a ball. And essentially what we can do to try and build juggling patterns is to fill in this ladder diagram. So the simplest thing would be the three ball cascade, which I can show you looks something like this. So this is the three ball cascade where you can see every ball is being thrown and then caught 3 beats later. And we can continue filling this in all of the way. And so I keep talking about this idea of there's a metronome spelling out the beats. Well, each beat is every single one of these rungs on the ladder. And so you can see every throw. If we look here, we start here, we have 1, 2, 3 beats, and then it's caught. And then 1, 2, 3 beats, and the next is caught. And so in between these beats, there's this ball that's in the empty hand. It's coming to the empty hand, and it connects to the next throw like this. So basically, you can determine if a site swap is juggleable, or if a sequence of digits is juggleable by representing those on a ladder diagram. And if you're able to do that without having 2 balls come to the same hand at the same time, then you can juggle it.
Yeah, so last topic I wanted to ask you about. So you recently went to Paris to participate in the World Juggling Federation Ultimate Championship
Mhm,
in kind of conjunction with the Olympics. So
mhm.
what was that like?
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I was really honored to be a part of it and really excited about it for a long time. It meant a lot to me. So I've been participating in the World Juggling Federation's competition since I was 12 years old. So it's been a really big part of my life and development as a juggler. I started in their junior competitions, and then proceeded to their advanced, and then this was their ultimate competition, they called it, meaning it was invitation only to past um, winners of their advanced competition. Um, and they had been given this opportunity by the Paris Olympic Committee to do a showcase of the sport of juggling in front of the Olympic Committee at some pregame events leading up to the Olympic Games a month before they began in Paris. And so it was really exciting to be a part of this event where we were really able to debut juggling in front of the world, um, and hopefully get it one step closer to actually becoming an Olympic sport.